All right, so we're beginning the September 21st, 2023 meeting the hearing of the Board of Appeals in Readfield. My name is Will Holmes. I'm the chair. We have other board members here today, Holly Ramlaw, John Bluen, Les Priest, and Al Prisunka. Am I saying that right? Okay. We also have the appellant here present today, Mr. Chamberlain, and his neighbor, Mr. Gould.
Larry, yeah.
Okay. We have no one present on Zoom, it looks like. So the issues for today's hearing are the approval of the previous meeting's minutes. Possible vote on chair and vice chair and that sort of stuff. And then we have the hearing for the variance for Mr. Chamberlain.
Should we do the hearing first, so they don't have to sit through our other stuff?
Our stuff's gonna be super quick.
Oh, okay. Nobody's gonna correct my minutes?
So everybody, all board members, have we read the minutes of people that were here for the last meeting? I guess Al and. If you want to vote on this, you can.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
I second that motion. All in favor? Any against? And any abstaining? Two abstaining?
Yes.
Okay,
Wasn't here either.
so
We were here to do it.
we will approve the minutes as they currently exist, the draft minutes, by a vote of 3-0. The two newest members abstaining who are at this meeting. So next is the officers. If we want to elect officers, we're missing Henry, who is a long-term board member. He's traveling, unfortunately. Well, for us. He's having a blast on him. We can table this if we want to wait for a full board, or we can go forward with electing officers if you like.
Well, I just can't imagine Henry wants to be chair. I think Will has to continue to be the chair. And usually nobody else wants to be the secretary, so we could wait to vote on vice chair in case Henry wants to be vice chair, but I can't imagine he wants to be chair.
You never know.
That's true.
True. But I agree. And I'm willing to be chair if you like, and I'm willing to allow someone else to be chair if they like.
Is anybody else a lawyer? Are either of you gentlemen a lawyer?
Thank goodness no.
No disrespect.
Okay, I move that Will continue as our chair next year.
I second.
All in favor? All right, that passes unanimously.
I move that Holly continue to be secretary
Secretary.
if she would like to.
Sure.
I second. All in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. Do you want to vote on vice chair or do you want to table that?
I move that we table it until next meeting, where this is their first meeting, and then Henry will be here, and then we can do it at that time.
Okay.
I second that. All in favor? All right, so it passes. Okay, so we've elected two of the officers and one we'll wait on. It used to be Peter Bickerman and he is no longer with our board. So it's been waiting for it. So we've done meetings, we've done officers. So now we're here for the variance hearing for Mr. Chamberlain. I guess, so how this will work, there still looks like there's no one on Zoom other than us. I guess we're on Zoom. We'll have Mr. Chamberlain go first, present his piece. Anybody else can talk after that. As far as giving argument or evidence as to why this variance should or should not be granted. We have some documents that are going to be part of the record. They are the application from the Chamberlains and a letter from Jeffrey Greb and Christine Hoffman. And I think those are the only documents for today's hearing so far. So Mr. Chamberlain, we'll get to go first. Anybody else who wants to give evidence can go afterwards. Mr. Chamberlain will get the last word if somebody else testifies. And then at some point, we will shut down the input and public participation of the hearing. And we will go into deliberation. And we will deliberate. And while we're deliberating, Mr. Chamberlain and Mr. Poulin, you cannot jump in. And anybody on Zoom cannot jump in. At that point, we've gotten all the facts we need, and we're just deliberating how we think we're gonna make a decision. And then we'll issue the decision, most likely verbally, and then we'll get a written copy of it out to everybody. So that's generally how the meeting will go, or the hearing, yes.
If I have questions of clarification, how do you handle that usually?
I mean, most likely during deliberations. Oh, but if you have questions for them, oh, yeah,
Yes, just,
I think just use your judgment, jump in if you'd like. You can wait until they're done presenting.
I mean, I'll wait till you then.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions. Yes, we have that, as board members, we have the right to ask questions of anyone presenting evidence in the hearing. And any board member can do it. You don't have to wait for permission if you're a board member. So that's a general outline of the hearing. I guess beforehand, before anything, or right before we start the hearing, we'll go over just conflict of interest for board members and how that may or may not affect this hearing. All right, any questions on that? General outline? Okay. So before we jump into taking Mr. Chamberlain's statement, Mr. Priest, you indicated that you have some knowledge of the applicants in this case.
Yes, I do, in the property itself.
Okay, yep, and you were their real estate agent?
That's correct.
Okay, and how long ago was that?
5 years ago, was it?
July of 2017.
Okay. Have you looked at the conflict of interest and recall process ordinance?
I did, I didn't see any other flag meeting.
Yeah. So it's all about, as I understand it, it's all about, do one of us board members, do we have a financial interest in this project? And if we do, then the conflict of interest ordinance kicks in. But just because you know somebody or you've got intimate knowledge of the property, that's definitely not disqualifying under our conflict of interest ordinance, as I am reading.
That's the way I read it as well, I just want to be sure.
Okay, yeah, sure. That being said, if we get to a hearing, I think Board of Appeals members and an applicant comes before you, you're just like, this is my best friend or my worst enemy, and I just personally, I don't think I can be fair. I don't think I can stand back and render impartial justice. Please feel free to state that to the board and ask to be recused, and then we will vote on it as a board. I guess we could vote to make you stay on, but. So, I mean, there is, if you really feel like, hey, I know this person in some in-depth knowledge, I just don't feel comfortable sitting in judgment. Bring that up. And we can recuse you or no. Or we can at least discuss it. So at this point, and I'll open this to anybody in the hearing, does anybody feel like there's a conflict of interest for any of the board members? All right, so that's silence. Okay, so we'll move on. So Mr. Chamberlain, we'll go to your testimony, your presentation here. Before that, we have got your application. Like 20-some whatever pages. And we also have a letter from Jeffrey Greb and Christine Hoffman. Those are both of those documents are going to now become part of the record. And bear in mind, we have got your application, we've read it, so you don't necessarily just need to repeat your application. Whatever, that being said, whatever information you'd like to tell us, please tell us.
Okay, my name is Steve Chamberlain, I'm from Herman, Maine. 5 years ago, we bought this tax map 140 lot 13, which is 83 Poolin Drive from Francis Poolin. there was some issues with the property, and it took us a while to close, but we ended up, but during the process of closing and during the process of trying to find out, Gary Quintel was here for code enforcement officer. He would not give us any details on the property until we had a signed purchase agreement. So, you know, we had questions and, you know, we really didn't see anything that was probably gonna be any kind of issue. We knew the lot was small. Somebody had gone down and put some stakes in the ground. There was another couple that signed a contract on it. They ended up rescinding the contract.
How big is the lot, ballpark?
Well, the road runs through the middle of it, so it's a four acre lot.
Okay, yeah.
So we ended up signing a purchase agreement and I immediately went to Gary Quintel, and I do have an email from him saying that he would not give us any information until we signed the purchase agreement to bring it in. You know, at that point now we pretty much made an agreement to buy in good faith, buy the property. So we ended up, we met with Gary, we went through over some things, the size of the lot, how big a house we could build. And across the road, there is an intermittent stream, I have a hard work time on that word, but that runs, we call it a drainage ditch, but it's a stream with just totally runoff. And we came to him and said, what is this? And Gary's like, we show nothing in our records that's any kind of stream. It shows a line on the map. It just shows as a ditch or, you know, a drainage area. He goes, when you get ready to build, come see me, we'll figure it out. So we never went any further than that. So then we go through 3 CEOs since then, which was Cliff had come back, Cliff Buck, Travis, I can't remember his last name. And then now we have Chip Stevens. So now we're in the process of getting ready to see, I want to build a garage across the road because I can't fit it on the side of the road I'm on.
And is there a house there?
I have a tiny home there.
Okay.
I have a tiny home there. So there's a well, a sewer in, and everything's
How big is the home?
it's 11 by 36. And I've gone through all that. I went through that, and I have actually emails from Gary, Cliff, and Chip has come, give me an option to prevent. Everything is, you know, everything is done there.
Was the home there when you bought it?
Nothing. There was nothing there.
So you built the 11 by 36?
Yes, and had to build it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is its approximate value?
Chip said 90 to 100,000. You know, property value, I haven't checked into what the properties were. You know, I haven't checked it. You know, I'm thinking probably 240, 250, maybe with a tiny home on it.
So you think its value is above 200,000, everything combined?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say that's fair.
It is lakefront, right?
Yes, it is. It's 200 feet of frontage. It's kind of as you can see on the tax map, it's kind of an odd piece of property. And as you see, the road runs, this is what really divides the lot. Because it gives me a real
Right away.
small.
Yep.
Real small, the lot size isn't the problem to build a house. I'm gonna build a real, you know, I'm building a small house that fits that piece. But I have no place to put a garage. So then we contact Chip and Chip, can you come take a look? We'd like to see what we can do. Well, he comes down, and of course, it's been a wet summer too. And I've had pictures of years before that dries up. It just drains from the hill and it dries up. So he came and looked and just, you know, on good conscience, said, you know, you gotta take 75 feet back. And that's because, you know, there's a lot of brush there, few ferns have grown. It's pretty much mature trees, but it's, you know, there's a lot of dock, a lot of leaves. The ditch is the stream, it's pretty defined. It's probably 3 feet wide and it's probably this deep. So there's not any wetlands before the ditch. It's a sloped ground and it drops down into the ditch. So Chip comes, walks the property with my wife and talks about it. My wife calls me. I came down a week later. Chip comes back down and we walked. And you know, we're trying to figure out what we need to do. So he helped me, we pulled measurements and we're trying to figure out with a setback from the road. And I'm actually shoreline zone where I want to go. So it's a 50-25. And that was wrong. And I did call Chip and ask him, that's printed wrong. I don't know who made the mistake. If we filled out the application wrong, that's you. But he said, don't worry about it. He just said, just go explain what's going on. So it ended up, I wanted to build a certain size garage, and the only place it would fit, because of the way that stream runs, that stream zigzags all the way up my property to almost at the top of the hill. And we came up with, I have a 8 by 12 width, 48 feet long. To build a garage, well, I want, this is what I want for a garage, this is what I wanna do, so we measured everything out, and we came up with this. The road surface is 15 feet wide. There's a 50-foot right of way in my deed, which I'm sure that, I don't know if you read it all, but there is a 50-foot right of way through my property all the way around.
Right.
The road surface is 15 feet. Larry and I pretty much maintain the road, mostly. We've graded it, we've done erosion control, we've added, we've ditched, we put culverts in. We really, especially where I am, we improved the corner a lot. We really, because it's, any kind of slope that's gravel, it can be a tough spot. So we did that, so we come up with this now, I'm on top of that knoll with my garage, and that's what I want. I do have pictures of
Is this a camp? Would you call this a camp?
a camp.
It's a modular home, isn't it? You had, you
It's
said
a
you had
tiny
to
home,
move in.
it's a house on wheels,
Okay.
it's considered a tiny home, it's within state specs.
Is your main home in Irving?
My main home is in town. I suppose to call it camp to me, it's camp to me,
Just
I don't know, but. So as things progress, I am, we come up with that size, and Chip and I talked about it, we talked about 75 feet, we talked a lot about drainage, we talked a lot. How I wanted to face the garage, what's safe, and as far as. After me, it's a dead end road, I have 4 places after me.
So that driveway that goes through your
Right.
property.
It goes right to his
property.
house, yeah, and he's there year round. The 3 camps before are all on stilts, they're summer homes, there's no insulation in 2 of them. They're only there.
Would you call them camps too?
I would call those camps, yeah, they don't use them in the winter.
Yeah.
At all.
Okay.
So they winterize them, Todd might use his a little bit, get the wood stove going, but the
Yeah,
water
that's-
shut off.
Yeah.
They barely
It's
do this, yeah,
camp.
it's camp. So, the above me, Oak Shores turns. And down that road is the Grebs, they leave almost all winter. And then his brother owns a piece of property, and then his sister lives there, and then they have a relative that lives there. Everybody knew what I wanted to do. I went to Mrs. Boyle next door and told her what I was gonna do. I explained all the ribbons to her. They're from Iowa. Very nice people. And a matter of fact, nobody ever really got to know them until this year. I went to the Grebs and I laid everything out how I wanted to, this is what I wanna do. Chip's been here. He actually, the funny thing about this whole thing with the Grebs, he helped me fill out the variance. He gave me a survey. He gave me all kinds, because he also had a variance because he moved his garage 20 feet closer to Oak Shores. And he has nothing in his right of ways in his deed. So he worked with Gary on that, he got his garage in. So it was helpful to me. I have a hard time with that letter, but I don't have to change the subject, but. So all this was, my neighbors knew I'm doing the neighborly thing, and I explained to everything we want, so. So if you walk the property, I don't know if you guys want to take a peek, this is where. I want to build, so this is standing on the corner right here, looking up the road, behind that gravel pile is where the garage would go.
And did you say it was 48 feet long?
I have a 48-foot, my garage, I want to build a garage 32 by 40, but I have a 48-foot piece there. That starts 8 feet on one end and it goes to 12 feet on the other, so I'm trying to get 20 more feet closer to the road to build this garage. And it's the only place on that property, because the minute you reach further up the property, it goes to residential. So even though that stream twists and turns, it comes together. I have nothing. You see what I mean? This is the only, Chip and I walked and talked, and I was pulling tape measure, and my wife was out there and wading through bushes, and that doesn't happen very often. We're trying to figure it out. Chip's been very helpful. Chip is a straight shooter, and I enjoy Chip. Every time I go to him, he just laughs, but This is pretty much what it looks like, as I gave you, of the spot I have right now.
Right.
You know, like I said, if it's, I don't understand what the Reds are doing, but I do know that if there's any issues with drainage, I am doing what I'm asked. I'm staying 75 feet from the stream. There is a natural buffer, which is in this picture right here, there's a rock wall. This is a picture I took today. That creates a natural berm that water will just leach through that. I mean, there's more than this is standing from the stream looking out. I don't know. This is standing from the stream looking towards the garage spot we had.
Do you want to offer those into evidence, those photos?
Yes, I do.
You're not gonna get them back.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I got it on my phone.
So we'll just take them.
That's standing on the back of the 48 looking towards the lake. So this is the berm I'm talking about. This is the road on the other side.
You know, if the Jeffrey Grab and Christine Hoffman, do they live together?
Yes, they're married. They're retired colonel working from the U.S. Army.
Are they there now?
They're there, but they won't come tonight. I just find the letter kind of really a personal attack on me.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't.
do you know why they didn't come tonight?
I really don't know. They're not home. What we've been trying to do is we've been trying to get, and this is the first year. Everybody's got together. We're trying to figure out. They don't want to pay for any maintenance on the road. They won't have to plow, sand it, and the other couple from down the road from New Jersey, neither of them has ever paid. I can't say ever. The people from New Jersey have never paid. The rest of us pay. We all do the maintenance on the road. Him and I put a ton of time in things.
It's like an informal.
It's like, yeah, and we were, the discussion was, do we want a formal road association or not? And the Grabs got very upset that we haven't made progress on that. And they want it done now, and they're so afraid of liability, but it takes time. This is the way it's been. You know what I mean?
Do they live there year round?
Their homes there, they go to Florida for 2 or 3 months in the winter. The home's heated, plowed, you know, so, you know, they've.
Did you say that they don't want to pay for any maintenance on
They
the road,
all, they're accused to,
but they want to have a formal road association?
they won't have a formal road.
So they had a formal road association, they would be paying, and if they didn't pay, then the property could be attached.
Well, we're working through that, exactly, all right, so.
No, I mean, if they say they want a formal road association, but they're not contributing and they don't want to pay any money, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
The formal road association puts the power into the road association that you can attach.
well, yeah, well, we're trying to get, okay, we're trying to figure out how many people want to go. It doesn't mean, you know, there's some people that want to be on it, and these 2 people from out of state, neither one want to be on it. And this, you know, we're kind of trying to work through that. We've had 2 meetings. He won't ever come to a meeting. She came to one, she never came to the other. So we just can't seem to get over this, get into the headway, because we haven't made it as far as they. But you know, if we want to go down a road, I can explain a few things that he's done. That right now he's in violation. That he's
Probably give them a little far field.
well, I'm just
But thank you for the back.
no, but I mean, I can tell you that what works for him, you see what I'm getting at. And this is, and I'm so offended by Sunday. I said hi to him. How you doing, Jeff? We talked, and then Monday you guys get the letter. This is, you know what I mean?
So can you drive an automobile to your car, to your lot?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and can you access the lake from your lot?
Yes.
Can you, what kind of lake frontage do you have?
200 feet of. Are you talking like the shoreland?
No, just like is it beach, is it rocky?
Oh, it's rocky. It's probably a 3 or 4 foot drop, you know,
Okay.
rocks, the normal, that side of the lakes. Yeah, well, actually, a lot of that lake's like that.
Sloping rocks.
Sloping, you know. There's dock, I mean, there's, you know, trees.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chamberlain, anything else you'd like to add?
No, you know, anything I need to do, you know, I'm hoping we can figure this out tonight. You know, I'm hopefully we go through some of this, and you know, I need to make some changes, I'm willing to do that, but this is what I want.
Sure.
This is, you know, it's kind of put me in a spot where, you know, this is what I got, and I know what I want, but you know, I need to get there. So, you know, I just think it's devalues my property. Because, I mean, I have another 3 acres I can't use. As far as building something on. And in the way that stream was never listed in there, in any records at all. I don't remember how much we went through with that, we got here all about it, but
I know
nobody.
it pretty well.
Yeah.
I've walked that property many times.
I know you do.
And many others, and not once did I see any water running in this.
Right, and that,
Ditch, whatever.
and actually, halfway up that hill in the 1800s, they put a rock dam. And that's where that water leach, it's the ground, it's kind of leach, you know, it's kind of soft there, all the water, it's quite a incline.
Yeah.
It kind of collects in there, then it runs off the bottom of the stream, and it does run through the lake. 200 feet from the culvert that the Greg's mentioned, 200 feet, and between me and the stream, between where I want to build the garage and the stream, it's 75 feet. It has never been cut. There's the pictures show it, you know, there's rock, there's natural leaves. You turn it over, it's black dirt underneath, it takes water. It takes water, but to top it all off, I also have that berm that's within the 75 feet of an old rock wall. The duff is all laid in and it makes like a natural barrier for that, and it's. A lot of water.
Your house in the background there?
That might be. Is it a red can?
Yeah, that's his, yeah, I mean, that's Steve's house.
Yeah, the green one.
With a black car by it?
Yeah.
And there, you have a pontoon boat?
Yeah, it's sitting there.
Can you get the boat in the lake from your property?
No. The docks are blind.
Has this gone to the planning board and
It doesn't,
it doesn't go,
variances come to us and only us.
okay,
So, so a couple, well. You've answered, I had 2 other questions, but you know, the ditches, the intermittent stream.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so. 2 things. You're calling this a garage, but it seems it's a pretty big garage, pretty big building for a. It's. That keep, I don't need to know what you're gonna keep in it, it's not a, yeah. It's not a,
Car, you know, little hobby shop, you know, just tinker. I have one now where I live in Herman. And it's about that size. The neighbors down the road built one right on Oak Shore, built the same exact size I'm gonna build at their place. I mean, I'd rather start big, and if we have to reduce it some, but that's what I want. You see what I mean? I want,
I mean. You know, they're garages and then they're garages, you know?
well, I mean, there is
What's the footprint again?
32 by 40.
Any other questions, Alan?
Yeah, you. So you seem to indicate that you, I'm reading this again, I heard what you said, but when you went to purchase the property. You weren't satisfied with the CEO at the time, or it wasn't clear, you didn't get. Clarification of what was on the property regarding wetlands or in the stream or anything, so that was just.
I mean, he showed it, he wasn't speaking, when I got the email, or, you know, I don't know if it's submitted in your.
What do you mean when you say what speaking, like,
Gary comes down and he
you
said,
didn't want to talk to you or just?
no, he said he would not, he said he had so much interest in the property that he doesn't have time to deal with these people walking the door, honest to God, it's in here, I have it in here. That he, you know, it said in the email that he, until I sign a purchase agreement, that
I think that's required, like in our permits, you have to have some interest in the land other than just. a desire.
Well, I'm asking because I'm reading the ordinance in one section about what the CEOs, how his conduct or their conduct.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to clarify that.
I think that the testimony about Quintel being a little standoffish and maybe Mr. Chamberlain not getting the full lay of the land. It gives a background, but it just has no bearing on our decision. So it's an interesting fact background, but it's not gonna affect our decision.
Well, you know, with that, I did buy the property, and I mean, you know, where he. I mean, after I bought the property or signed the lease, you know, purchase agreement, you know, it was. He said there was nothing in it, so I mean, could I have rescinded that at that point? You know, if he come to me and said, no, that's wetlands, could I have gone to less and rescinded it? I would have. Cause that wasn't,
Sure.
my point
And
was.
yes, but that's an issue for another.
Right,
That's a
well,
court
I'm
issue.
just, you know.
Yeah, it's just not an issue for us today.
Okay. All right.
It's not gonna affect the decision of whether you get a variance,
Okay.
whether you were duped into getting this property, whether they didn't.
No, I know, I wasn't duped into it, I just didn't.
Anything along those lines, it's
Mhm.
helpful background,
Mhm.
but we're not gonna be considering that when we make our decision.
Mhm.
So in your view, 6A, the part about interpretation of the land use ordinance or misapplication of law of the facts, I'm just bringing that up.
6A of what?
Our ordinance. I'll appeal, the code enforcement officer, it's the last sentence of language, just, I just wanna make sure that that's. There was no misrepresentation. Or,
Oh, yeah, that's what we're gonna decide.
yeah,
That's what we would decide in it, so that's something totally different, that's what we would decide in an appellate decision from, like, a planning board. We would decide if there was an error of law, we're not doing that today, we've got brand new jurisdiction over this, we're the first people, we're the first board getting a bite on this.
okay,
It goes right from us to Superior Court. So there's no, yes,
So I understand stream, and I understand 75-foot setback from a stream, but it appears as though. Is it a stream or is it a berm? Is there some quantification of what a stream is?
our current CEO called it an intermittent stream or a stream, and he's determined that it's 75 foot, you need to be 75 feet back.
Okay.
That issue is not before us.
Right, and
We're talking about distance between from the road to the garage.
Mhm.
So let's assume that the CEO is telling him is correct.
So it's the road, is the road setback?
Yes,
It's
yeah,
not-
it's not to the
Right.
stream. And what he's saying is the stream is pinching him, forcing him to get close to the road,
Right.
because you gotta have this 75 foot thing from the stream.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So now we have to figure out. The distance from the edge of the road. To the,
And it's what, 17 feet?
I'm asking for
Ballpark.
17 feet from the edge of the road, that'll give you my 32 feet, and, you know. The road is only 15 feet wide, so. It's never been, there's grass on both sides, you know, it's a small ditch under the drainage is taking care of that, so. This is what I'm asking for.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Chamberlain? Mr. Chamberlain? Oh, go ahead.
Michael, how? If you follow the setback for the road, how big can you make the garage using the proper setback?
8 feet on one end and 12 on the other by 40 feet. If I want to use the whole 40 feet, because the way that stream meanders.
Yeah.
Pinches me.
Oh,
So it's 8 by 12. And however.
Well, it's 8 feet on one end, 12 on the other,
And
48-foot stretch,
Yeah.
and then it ends because the stream comes around and then it leaves me. The way that stream shapes right there for 75 feet. If I go up the road past either end of that 48-foot mark, it closes the complete gap.
Any other questions? For Mr. Chamberlain? Mr. Chamberlain, anything else you'd like to add?
I do have, I don't know, I mean, I take it you guys have probably all looked at everything I sent in, I take it, I do have. Redrawing of. This is what I'm proposing,
You put that in your packet, right?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
So you
that's
guys have
already
gone
have
through
it.
everything, okay, alright, because I haven't got anything new besides the pictures,
Okay,
that's the only thing, like I said, I'm in shoreline zoning, the setbacks are. Different than residential zoning, and I'm hoping that. You'll consider my variance.
okay. Mr. Poulin, do you want to testify?
No, I know that I've been around Steve since he's been there, and I know when he does something, he does it over and above. And he's done a lot of work down there, a lot of digging, there's always a silk fence up. hay bale. There won't be a problem. And with that berm we talked about, and then from that berm to the Independent Stream, like you said, and then there's another stone wall that goes perpendicular to that. And there's plenty of vegetation there, the water won't get that far.
Okay.
And I've been a logger, I've been logging all my life. I've built many roads, I know how to control water, and I've been inspected, I don't know, time after time after time over with ranges, and never had any problem whatsoever. And Steve is the same type of person that I am, as far as when you do something, you do it right, and you won't have a problem.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Poulin?
Nope.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Poulin? Anybody else want to testify? I'd be odd if a board member testified. Go ahead.
Has
You're
it
right.
happened?
Could happen. Okay,
The one thing I want to add is that if this can be done properly without having any erosion whatsoever. There's a way of doing this without having any problem. I'm certain of that. And I walked again, we walked it tonight again, and it's just with the amount of water that come off that roof. You know, if you do it correctly, it falls off the roof, if you capture it there and whatever's left, it flows into near that berm. I've been there since I was a kid. We never ever had any problem anyways there. And that's 65 years.
You're talking about old guy.
Yeah, I know. So, and that road, we keep it maintained and ditches clean. We just want it to work right. We want to say, we live on the lake. We don't want to screw the lake up and have this stuff go, you know, glued in, because we feel on the northern end basin is a nice. And it's clean and it's good, and we don't want to do anything that would endanger any other lake whatsoever.
all right. Anything else, Mr. Poulin?
No.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Poulin? Including Mr. Chamberlain?
Well, I have a question of how far is the garage from the lake?
270 feet, depends on where I go in that 48-foot mark. If I can add something else, as far as runoff, Chip said that, you know, I can have somebody design a plan, or I can come up with a plan and just submit it, he's your.
I mean, if he gives you a permit, he's gonna check on erosion.
Exactly, so I got somebody like a neighbor watching everything I do. I don't really see this as being an issue as far as the runoff. Will do what I need to do, I just, you know.
And then the other thing Steve was saying is that you put a small driveway into the garage, put crushed stone in there, put enough crushed stone, that's gonna eliminate any runoff there at all.
You know,
And it's gonna be done right, it's gonna be done right, I know that, but I've seen this work.
Oh, man. All right, anything else from you gentlemen?
I think we'll do it.
All right. And anybody else want to give evidence? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. So, Board of Appeals members, do you think we ought to go into deliberation and close the evidence?
If I had something to say, when would I say it?
Well, if you would.
I'd like for just a couple of comments.
Yeah, that would probably be appropriate for our discussion,
Okay.
once we've closed evidence and.
Unless you have a question of them,
I don't-
Yeah,
I know.
because they can't talk once.
yeah. Okay. So I move we close evidence and go into deliberation.
Second.
All in favor? All right, it's unanimous. So, at this point, Mr. Poole and Mr. Chamberlain, you're just flies on the wall, you don't get to talk. But you do get to observe, and anybody gets to observe at this point.
We never did get anybody on Zoom, did we?
Not yet.
Just a little bit. You think those people that objected would at least be lurking?
It is unusual to write a letter and then not show. So is my understanding that we're applying Board of Appeals Ordinance 7B1? which is on page 3 of our Board of Appeals ordinance. It's the same section that we applied in the last year.
I was going to ask for clarification, I agree with you, because D, has to be your permanent residence,
Right,
so that's out.
right.
Um,
So 7B requires that the applicant establish all 4 of those elements, the A, B, C, and D. And it's always the first one, which is the hurdle. That first one, Mr. Chamberlain has to prove that the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless this variance is granted. I mean, the state Supreme Court, it's a 1970s decision, it's old law, it's still good law. They said if you can drive your boat up, park your boat on your lot and get out and swim, that's a reasonable rate of return.
It's also very surprising lately how properties that just have the ability to park a vehicle and have your own access to the water are going up in value by quite a bit.
Right.
It's almost, it's almost hard to believe what some of the values are.
You see that day in, day out, I bet.
Well, it seems to be more and more of that is happening, 50 by 50 lot. In a condominium thing with shared water frontage, but the actual building envelope is 50 by 50. Is listed for 139,000. And a similar one closed last month at 122,000. There was, there were other instances where they had a view with a 10-foot right of way, and people were bidding 75,000 and for the building to be torn down. So
Yeah.
I think in the just the access, especially if you have 200 feet of frontage, that it doesn't meet that standard of the fact that there's not a reasonable rate of return, because people are trying to be able to drive their RV on and park there. And if they could put a septic in and they put a well, someone
Right.
is developing 10 RV sites up in Oakland to be on the water. So I think that situation is hard to pass that test based on what is taking place in the marketplace.
yeah, the question I had earlier, I was gonna ask you that I didn't, is that I'm looking at your drawings, the entire lot of this. If this were 2 lots and you own 2 lots, that'd be different, because this would be a separate issue from this, which, because it's short run and, right? That's
So Al, just a quick reminder, you're talking to us,
Oh, I'm
and not
sorry.
to the applicant at this point. That's it, but you talking to him, it might encourage him to respond to you, so, but just, you're addressing us, not.
No, so because this is 1 lot. With part of it with a dwelling and leach field septic system, 200 feet of short frontage. Versus that, and then it's cut and be a separate lot would be different. To me is different, because this certainly. The lot in its entirety is. Get a reasonable return on this lot. I think, so.
And reasonable return doesn't necessarily mean it definitely doesn't mean that you get the maximum return.
Yeah.
Like, yes, if we all could build the biggest thing on our property, yes, we could get a bigger return. The court said, no, that's not it. And in this case, we have a house. You can access this land by car, you can access it by boat. The court, as I understand the case law on this, that's a reasonable rate of return. And our statute, our ordinance, which comes from the state statute, makes variances very hard to get. So these variances don't go through the planning board. I'm pretty sure, because you go to the planning board, you disagree with them, you come to us, the Board of Appeals. They made it so it's harder to get a variance. You don't get to go to the planning board first. You have to come to us first. And if you don't like it, now you gotta go to Superior Court. So these are really hard to get. Variances are very hard to get. And it's that first. Element too. The legislature has made it. Essentially like, there would have to be an earthquake and a chasm, like you cannot access your land anymore, because you got a canyon. And so now you have to be able to build a bridge to get to your land, you know, some variance like that. My understanding of the law is. They're very hard, and in this case. It seems that this first hurdle. Is super hard for the applicant.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
You know when the it changed from 75 foot from center line of stream to from 50 feet to 75 feet? You know when that happened? I always had to be 75 feet.
I do not.
I think it's been in the last few years.
Okay, yeah.
So if that was 50 feet, if we're talking 50 feet, we wouldn't even be here.
Right. And who, I don't know, depending on the right CEO, we have 4 years of drought. And there's no stream down there 4 years from now, and they go, hey, I want to go big garage. I don't know if that CEO 4 years from now would go, okay, yeah, go ahead. We don't have to be 75 feet from this because there's no water there. All right, I don't know.
Even 50 feet.
Right.
You'd be setback from
Right.
the-
I don't know.
Yeah.
But as it is right now. We're talking about distance from the
I know.
road. So. It's not.
Who, I guess this termination of the center line, this line here. Right here,
That's the hook of the stream here. And this is a straight line from there to there.
so that's,
So I think that would probably be.
well, the center line of the stream versus the center line of the entire
Well,
water body.
And it can be edge of the stream, center line of the stream,
Right.
or the opposite bank of the stream.
Well, if this were the center line of the stream.
What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
center, middle, or opposite bank, it doesn't matter for our decision. We're talking about the distance from the road.
Well, he could move it over this way, and the,
And if that's the case, that's a question for him and the CEO,
Okay.
if they want to get down to that. Our question here today is, how close to the road can we get? And the question is, can there be a variance from that road setback? And the applicant has to prove all of these 4 elements on page 3 of our ordinance. 7B, 1, A, B, C, and D. I'm not even looking at B, C, and D. On those elements. And we rarely do in variances, because the first element is so hard to do. You've got to prove there's no reasonable rate of return on our land. Which there is a very, very low bar.
and what's reasonable? You know,
So
so
can you tent? Can you park your boat there? Can you drive there in your car, or do you have to hike, you know? But I think certainly once you get to the point of you have a structure with running water and electricity,
but that's across the road.
but it's on the lot.
Yeah.
It's the whole lot, like, I think Al was saying, if it were 2 separate parcels, maybe it'd be a different story, maybe, but.
The tough part about being on Board of Appeals is, it's about the facts and it's about the standards and it's what's printed. It's not subjective, it's not what we'd like it to be, it's not what we think it should be, it's what it is. So that's the tough part, because it's really pretty black and white. And in this instance, I don't think it passes the first test of the reasonable rate of return. So it fails just on that one thing by itself.
Because the applicant has to prove all 4. It's not like you can just do B. And then you gotta do all 4. So that's my understanding of the variance requirements under 7B of our ordinance. It seems pretty clear to me. But. Board members, do any of you think I'm way out in left field and just? There's another way to look at this?
It's pretty similar to the last one we did.
Right.
Can he go back and sue, just an aside, this is something to do with our decision.
Sure, you can
Can he-
anybody.
Can he go back and sue, for not being made aware of the intermittent stream,
Could be something for a court
yeah,
hearing,
Yeah.
real court, man.
You know, I think the CEO has said that it is a stream.
Right.
So that, although that's not the setback we're talking about here. but
We're
that's one
assuming,
of
I
the
think, for
things-
this hearing that it's a stream.
Right, so, so that based on, the stuff that we have to review, that it doesn't meet the four. Standards that are necessary to grant a variance.
Right.
So,
I know it's the stream that's pushing the garage up close to the road. But we don't really care how close the stream is for this hearing, it's how close the garage is to the road. How close garage.
can I make a motion that we end deliberation and discussion?
So that would be appropriate if you think we're to that point, guys. Anybody else have anything to say? I second that motion. All in favor? Ending deliberation? Going to decision, all right. All right, so deliberations are done. Do we have a motion on our final decision, how it should be?
I move that the application for the variance be denied because it does not meet the standards that we are forced to take into account.
I second that motion. All in favor? Any against? Okay, one against, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1. Okay, so the variance application is denied. You need a majority. So we will issue a written decision, which will be issued in the next couple of days. The appeals times are from today. So I think there's a 45-day appeal time. That starts running today, even though you won't get the written decision for several days or a week or so. I think that's all of our business. I motion we adjourn our meeting.
Am I allowed to say anything?
We're done with the public input at this point.
A second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourn? All right,
huh?
we are adjourned. Meeting over. All right, thanks, everybody.
I got a question, does that have anything to do with this and my
Oh,
personal?
turn off our Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.